Welcome to the first AutoCAD tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to go over a few of the important interface items. I'm not going to go over it in depth. We should have covered some of it in class already, but just want to reiterate a few things to remind you of some of these important ones. And we'll use the assignment 1A from week 1 as the basis of the tutorial, so you can follow along, and we'll actually get started drawing the assignment 1A. So we'll cover just drawing using some simple commands, lines, polylines. Keep everything orthogonal and right angles today for this exercise and this tutorial. We're going to look at the different ways of entering coordinates and telling where AutoCAD you want to put the endpoints of your lines or the vertices, your polylines. We'll look at some basic commands for moving things around, and snaps, orthogonal snap, and object snaps. Look at a little bit about how AutoCAD is structured overall too, and also how to print the final your final excuse me, your final drawing for the tutorial. I'll give you a heads up, a little preview on the complexities of printing in AutoCAD. So right now I've got open on my screen, I've got AutoCAD here, and let me get my camera view out of the way. Okay. And you can see here I've got our week 1 assignment 1A assignment open here in AutoCAD already. This is the Windows version of AutoCAD that I'm demonstrating on. The Mac version, as I've said in class, it works the same way with the same commands, but the interface is different. The Mac does not have, for example, the ribbon that the Windows version of AutoCAD has up at the top with the different panels for the different tools and commands. But AutoCAD does have the same commands. And so that's the way that we're going to be doing AutoCAD. In order to be able to be universal between any platform, we're going to use AutoCAD by using the commands rather than hunting and picking icons. All right, so again, just to reiterate a few of the important interface items and how AutoCAD, the program, is structured and used. First of all, when you open up the file here, you'll see that we are in this dark black background, sort of infinite space where, you know, there's like kind of nothingness around here. You might have a grid here, and I think that's on by default. I do not like the grid. I don't think many people like the grid. It's a kind of an arbitrary grid spacing as far as I know. I've never used the grid. Go into the preferences, you can turn it off. There's also, I think, a little button down at the bottom. I think it's this one here. Yes, if you can see that down at the bottom of my screen here, this it says grid mode. Click that, it toggles the grid on and off. Kind of useless. You never need the grid. We'll be using other ways of aligning objects in AutoCAD and keeping things straight. One of the first important things, I probably mentioned this already, is the command line at the bottom of the screen, the AutoCAD screen down here. Yours might look a little bit different if you haven't been using AutoCAD and you just open up the program for the first time. But down here at the bottom, this bar, and I've maybe resized it from what you see, but this bar, you can see it's got a command prompt here and a type of command. All right, so AutoCAD is command based. When you click on an icon, AutoCAD converts it into a command. And you can get by without using any icons and just using the keyboard. That's, again, primarily what we'll be doing. The second important interface item that I want to remind you of is the Properties palette. On Windows, to open it up, there's a shortcut. It's Control-5. I'm sorry, on the Windows it's Control-5. On the Mac it's Command-5. Right? Let me say it again. On Windows, it's Control-1. And there we go. And on the Mac, it's Command-5. Windows, Control-1, Mac, Command-5. All right, so here it is. I have it docked on the left side of my screen already. And I guess it's this way in the screen recording, on that side of my screen, on my left. And I have it set to automatically collapse, so you can, I don't know where it's going to show up on your screen, but you can, when you first open up, you can move it around and put it wherever you want. And like I've done, you can dock it on the side and have it with this button right here, this little icon there, click that, it'll automatically collapse and expand when you mouse over it. Another way to open it up in AutoCAD, in the Windows version, is to go to the View palette, or View ribbon, I should say, and right here, click on this Properties button. You can see right now it's highlighted, meaning I actually do have it open in here, but it's just collapsed against the docked side of the screen. Okay, so Command Line, Properties palette. The third thing I want to bring to your attention are the snaps, and we kind of looked at that a little bit at the bottom with the grid. So at the bottom of your screen, both the Mac and the Windows version, we've got all these little boxes here that we can turn various things, various types of snaps on and off. All right. One of the most important ones is this one. That's the kind of square with a little square in the corner, which is the OSNAPs, the object snaps. You can click the icon and turn it on and off. F3 does the same thing, and I think on the Mac it's the same F3. If you open up this little triangle next to it, you can see it brings up this list of all of the snaps that you can turn on and off and set them on and off for the duration of well, it keeps it persistent. You close AutoCAD, it'll open up again with the same settings. So here on the bottom of the screen, it can open up, and these are the ones that I like. I think endpoint, fairly universal, very always useful. Midpoint, I find I like to have all the time, and I would like you guys to turn that on right now as well. Center, I like having on. I always find that useful. Node, maybe or not. Well, when you get into certain types of geometry, that comes in handy. You don't need it now. Quadrant, same thing. Don't need it now. Intersection, very useful. If we have crossing lines, we want to know exactly where they cross. I always have that on for that. Perpendicular can be problematic. I would say go ahead and turn it on. If we have some problems using or difficulties trying to get used to how it works, we can turn it off. And then tangent and nearest, I would say don't turn those on now. I have them on right now because I sort of am used to knowing how to work with them. A lot of people don't like having nearest on, so don't. So I would recommend turning that one off for yourselves. I'm going to keep it on, and you will see me use the nearest snap, but hopefully it won't confuse you guys when you see me use it, and you're not able to if you have it on. Okay, all right, so those are the object snaps. Next snap that I want to bring to your attention is the Ortho snap. Also at the bottom of the screen, there's an icon. Okay, down here, it looks like a little right angle symbol. Easy, click it on and off. The shortcut key for Ortho on both the Mac and Windows is F8. All right, and I'll demonstrate very quickly what that does. Ortho right now is on. If I just draw a line, okay, and so why don't we get into it? Let's open up our the assignment handout, and I will rearrange my screen, and we can take a look and start drawing it. Okay, so I've switched sides of the screen. You see me up on your left side of your monitor now. Reorganized my windows on the screen, so I've got the our assignment here open on the left side of the screen, and AutoCAD here open on the right. And let's get my palette to auto hide here again. Okay, just go away. All right. So here's the starter template file, AutoCAD file for our assignment. So let's just start drawing a few things. And we're in model space where we actually draw life size, 1-to-1. The first thing is that in my instructions here, I say draw everything on layer 0, 1. Okay, so if we go in in AutoCAD here to our Home tab, and we look at this panel that says Layers, you see there's this drop-down selection here. And these are all the layers that are in the file. If I just highlight 001 and click on it like that, that means now you see it's here, it's persistent. Anything I draw from here on out is going to be on layer 001. On the Mac, what you can do is, and on the Windows, open up the Layers palette, and the command is LA. I already have it open, so if you type LA and then enter, or space, and in AutoCAD, the space bar and enter are equivalent. So I say LA space, the Layers palette opens up, and you can do the same thing here. This has more information and it's bigger, and it gives you, it can have some other descriptions that show up of the layers. And here we can change just by double clicking which layer we want, which one's going to be active. Okay, so I have this set to auto hide also, so there it goes onto the dock to the right side of my screen and auto hide. Okay, so I'm set to draw on layer 001 now. All right, and so let's just draw. So let's set up, first of all, we need to set up the restrooms, the location of the boxes for the restrooms, and they're basically two equivalent equal size squares, 8 feet by 8 feet, total of 16 feet across, and we'll just draw these walls right now as a single line on layer 001. Okay, so let's go back here to AutoCAD, and in AutoCAD, I mean, we could draw this exactly where it needs to go, but what I would recommend is let's just draw it in someplace in the middle of nowhere where we know we can draw those boxes accurately, and then move those boxes into place. Okay, so we're going to use the line command to do that. Just do it a couple times. We'll do the line command, and then we use the Polyline to do the same thing. Again, make sure that right now that your ortho snap is on, because we're drawing in all right angles, okay, and that the object snaps that I recommend having on again would be endpoint and midpoint, and intersection are the ones that I recommend for this exercise right now. Okay. Before we continue drawing, there are a couple other things I want to point out. Actually, it's about selection in AutoCAD, and AutoCAD has two modes of selection using the mouse here, and one is if you just click and drag from left to right, and you can see it creates this blue selection box on the screen. All right, if I go encompass something completely with the blue box, it selects it. The other is right to left. If I click someplace, release the mouse button and move the mouse across something, and then click after I've crossed something, it selects those things that I've crossed. I don't have to, with the right to left selection, I don't have to encompass the whole thing. Left to right, you have to encircle the whole thing. Right to left, you don't. Now, you can also deselect things with the same methods using the Shift key as a toggle to deselect. First of all, I can add to the selection also just by clicking again, moving the mouse, clicking. So it adds, it's persistent. I don't have the mouse held down again or anything, and it's persistent. It keeps the selection there, and then I can operate on these selected items. I can move them, do it, whatever commands I want on them. To deselect these, I can use the same left to right or right to left picking techniques. Let's do a right to left and deselect this box here. So I will hold down the Shift key, click release, move the mouse, just touch that box there, click, and you can see that's deselected there. Zoom in, you can see that's deselected. Let's use the same technique and deselect, let's do the left to right technique and deselect this top line. What we have to do then is we have to be able to select that whole line. I'll hold down the Shift, click, release the mouse button, move the mouse. I have to go over the entire thing going left to right, and then click the mouse button, and you see that's deselected. Okay. Okay, back to our assignment. So let's just start drawing lines. Let's start in the top left corner of our restrooms. We'll draw the outside border of the restrooms, and then we'll enter we'll put in the dividing wall, and we'll start by doing lines. Okay, so I'm just going to start anywhere here. Line command L. You see I type L, and it gives me a auto completion list here of all the commands that begin with L. In AutoCAD, I can hit enter or I can hit space to get this going. With my hand on the left hand is always there on the left side of the keyboard, and the enter key's on the right side of the keyboard. I usually just hit space with my left thumb, and now we started the line command. I could click just anywhere to start the line. Ortho is on, so when I move the mouse around, it snaps to 90 degrees. I can override that if I want by holding on the shift key. Okay, but I still want to just draw a horizontal line. Now, with AutoCAD, there's something interesting. All I need to do is move the mouse in the direction I want that line to go for place the second point, and then all I have to do is tell AutoCAD the distance from that first point that I want it. According to our instructions, I want the second point to be 16 feet away, so I type 16 feet, and you can see that in the how that shows up here in the tooltip preview. All right, and just hit enter. Okay, and you can see the line command is still active, so I can keep drawing, but I'm going to stop here, hitting space. I'll end the line command that way, and let's check this line. All right, using the properties panel, select that line. Look at the properties panel. It tells me, yes, I've selected a line. It's a single line. There's only one line I've selected, because if I select multiple lines, it'll say like 3 or 4 or whatever, how many I've got. It's on layer 1, which is correct. That's where I want it to be. Then at the very bottom here, length, 16 feet. Boom, great. That's exactly what we want. All right, let's go around and do the other 3 sides. So we'll want 8 feet, then another 16 feet, and then back up 18 feet to start. Okay, so I deselect that line by hitting escape, and let's start a new line, L. Now, when I hover over, I'll zoom in here now. When I hover over the endpoint of that first line, you see it gives me a little tooltip, with the little square, green square box, telling me that's an endpoint snap. The other types of snap we have on here is, you see the little triangle there, the green triangle is a midpoint, and if you have this sort of hourglass X shape, that's a nearest. And then, again, I told you guys to turn that off, but I have that on, so if you see that, that's what that is. But we want to start here, snap to this endpoint, click, release, move the mouse just in the direction we want it to go. It can be anywhere as long as we get the preview in that direction. We want 8 feet, 8 feet, enter. Okay, line command is still active, so we can just continue and do the next segment here. All right, here's another thing. Before I enter then this the next enter in 16 feet, I want to point out that we are in imperial units in this file, and the units are saved with the file. So I can have different files in metric, and it saves the units in the file, or I can have decimal inches, like 1.2 inches instead of 1.5 inches. When you're in imperial architectural units in AutoCAD, the actual base unit is the inch, not feet. So if I just enter a number here, AutoCAD's going to interpret it as inches. So if I want to do 16 feet in inches, I could do that, and it saves me from having to enter in the apostrophe for the feet. But I don't know that conversion. I can't do it in my head 12 times 16 very quickly, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit 16 feet, enter, and there we go. And now for this one, I'm not going to enter in a distance, but I'm going to just snap to the endpoint there, and we've closed the box. Okay, the line command is still active. I'll hit escape to get out of the command and zoom out a little bit. There's a box. All right, let's draw the box another way. Let's use a polyline. Okay, similar thing. And I'll show you what the difference is between drawing with Polyline and drawing with a line. Polyline shortcut is PL. P-line is the actual command you see there. All right, P-line. Okay, so let's just start anywhere again. Click, move the mouse in the direction I want. Okay, I want it 16 feet. 16 feet. Enter. Okay, move down this way. Now here's where I know what 8 feet in the equivalent of inches. Is 96 inches, so I'm just going to enter 96. Enter. Right, so I don't need to enter 8 and then find the punctuation mark for the feet. Let's go over here. Here's another thing I want to show you about is the object tracking. If I'm coming over this one, I know I want to align it with that point there. I can hover over it for a little while and then pull off, and you see AutoCAD now gives me that green tracking snap. All right, so it's tracking perpendicular to that point there. All right, and so I can click and it'll just put that. It'll put the point perpendicular to that 90 degrees from that tracked point because I'm in ortho. And again, now here's the thing about polylines. If you're drawing a closed figure, right, you do not go back and click on the starting point. When you're at the last point and you need to go back to the first point, what you do is you type C. You can see down in my command line here, the P line has been asking me all along for every point that I do, specify next point, specify next point, specify next point. But there are also these options, arc, close, half width, length, undo, I don't know what, that we can use to draw different types of polylines. In this case, what I only want to do is close the polyline. So I'm not going to do it by clicking on the last point because that's not actually going to close the polyline. It's not going to make it an actual AutoCAD enclosed figure or object. I have to use the close command. So after I've done the last point and need to get back to the first point, I type C. All right, I just type C, and I don't even have to have the mouse move in that direction because AutoCAD will know from that point. It'll just draw a line segment and close the polyline back to the first one. So C, enter, and there we go. It's, now let's select these things. Let's do a right to left selection on these things and go through only part of them. I'm going to start here and show you something. So if I just select through these things and click, you can see that using the line command, it has made individual line segments. I crossed through these two, so it selected those two, but the polyline is one object. Okay. One more way of drawing this, the rectangle command. Now here, I'm going to explain how to enter relative coordinates. Okay, just like when we drew the first line or any of these lines from point to point, we did one line, we moved the mouse, and we told AutoCAD I want to go that distance from the first point. Relative coordinates in AutoCAD are the similar thing, but you need to give both X and Y from that first point. Okay, so when we draw a rectangle object, we'll click one corner and then draw the opposite corner. So for example, if in the rectangle, if we wanted to draw the outside rectangle here, we'd start with the top left corner and tell AutoCAD where the opposite corner is down here. Where is that relative to the first one in the relative coordinates? It's 16, positive 16 feet in the X direction and minus 8 feet in the Y direction. All right, so let's practice that here in AutoCAD. I'm running out of room inside the box here, so I'm just going to pan over a little bit and do one here. The rectangle command, REC, is the shortcut. So I'll type REC. You can see that. Okay, space. You can click anywhere to start. Just click, move the mouse. Right, I click and release, move the mouse, and now you can see AutoCAD is asking me. Whoops. It's funny here. It's not zooming in just like what, but it says specify other corner point or options. You can see down in the command line, we can there are other options we can enter. All right, but we just want to specify the other point. So to do the relative coordinate, relative to that first point we did, we say type at, oops, we type the at symbol. I think my zooming in did something, so let me start that again. All right. Okay, yeah, the zooming did something here with my keyboard. Type at, and you can see that it shows up in the little tooltip where my cursor is, at, okay, positive 16 feet, all right, and then I'd have to put on a comma because we're entering XY coordinates. 16 feet, comma, and you see after I hit the comma, the little lock shows up on the 16 feet, meaning we sort of entered that X direction. And I'm going to say minus 8 feet, enter. And there it is, a 16 by 8 rectangle. So relative coordinates are relative to the last point that you've specified or clicked, versus absolute coordinates. Absolute coordinates are always relative to the 0, 0 origin in AutoCAD, this in model space. I don't know where that 0, 0 origin is right now in this file. We can find out. But if I had not entered the at symbol, it would have told AutoCAD that I want to put the coordinates, that second point, relative to the absolute 0, 0 origin point of all of model space, wherever that might be. All right, so let's, I'm going to erase, no, let's go ahead and keep it there. But I'm going to, let's do the move command and move this one out of the way, and we'll keep the line-based one and move that into place where we need to do it. All right, so select this by click, remove the mouse, move the mouse, blue box, left to right, have to encompass the whole thing, click, selected. Move command, M is the shortcut, space. Now, just like with the line command, where we do a direction and the distance, same thing. I can click anywhere I want here, move the mouse, it gives me a preview, and it shows me the vector direction that the motion is going in. Again, here we're in ortho. If I want to move it someplace, anywhere, I can hold down the shift key and override ortho and put it anywhere. All right, but let's just well, let's go ahead and do that. I'll hold down the shift key and I'll just put it right here, just, you know, somewhere in space near that other box. You can see that I'm not moving it in a right angle, so that's fine. It's just out of the way. Okay. Now let's zoom in here a little bit. How do we place this, the box here, where we want it to go? Well, I look at the instructions, and the location where it needs to go is it's equivalently spaced from the side walls. So basically it's in the midpoint of this whole space left to right, and it's 8 feet off the back wall. So in AutoCAD, it is always preferable, it is always more accurate, it's always more precise to draw graphically than by entering numbers and coordinates into the keyboard. Because imagine that you need to move something or have something that's 1 5/16 inches. Well, you know, 5/16 it's an irrational number, it's an irrational fraction. But if you have something that you can snap to, that you know has already been set up there, it's going to be a lot more accurate. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to use the midpoint snap and snap to the midpoint of this this line here. You can see that it is a continuous line that goes all the way from side to side, so I know that the midpoint of that should be right in the middle of the space. Right? Same thing with, I'm going to use this line of our restrooms to snap there. Okay, so let's do this. Just to demonstrate also, there's in AutoCAD a difference between pre-picking and post-picking items. If I've been demonstrating pre-picking, which means I select the objects first and then I've been issuing the command. I can issue the command first, move, enter, and what AutoCAD does then is it tells me, well, what are the objects that you want the command to work with, and then I can just select those. After I'm done selecting those objects that I want to work with, then I hit space or enter again, and then I continue with the command as we've been seeing. All right, so I've got the move command going, I've got my object selected, I'm going to hover over the midpoint of the restrooms back here, click release, move the mouse. Now you see I've got ortho on, right? And so it's constraining me to either go straight up or straight to the right or left. If I snap to the midpoint, I'll hover over that midpoint. It gives me the preview of the triangle, the little green triangle. But the preview of the motion, the move vector there is still going straight up and down. The snap overrides the ortho. Sorry, the object snap. The midpoint snap overrides the ortho. So I can just click here, and it'll align those midpoints and override the ortho. All right. Now let's move the 8 feet from here down in plan south direction. I'll select these, pre-pick, do the move command, click anywhere, move the mouse in the direction I want. 96, I'll just enter 96 for 96 inches, enter, and there it is. So the outline of our restrooms is positioned correctly. The one last thing for drawing the restrooms is the line down the middle, the dividing wall. So instead of drawing, I'm going to do what is one of the more, what a lot of adherents to AutoCAD say is the way that you should do it, is just draw one line and copy it and manipulate that one line to create all your other lines. So let's use this line and copy it into place. Copy command, the shortcut is CO, so CO enter. So I pre-picked and then entered the command, and I'm going to do it by snapping. Again, I'm not going to use numerical means to draw. I'm going to use graphical means and let AutoCAD do the work for me to put it into place, because I know that, you know, if I snap to midpoints and endpoints, it's going to be right on, because AutoCAD's not going to lie to me as far as those go. But if I happen to enter a fraction incorrectly, or if it's a 32nd of an inch off, or even a 256th of an inch off, it'll be that far off. It's not going to be precise. Okay, so we've started our copy on the endpoint here. Click release. Just like with the move command, I move the mouse in the direction I want. It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be precise. So I hover over the midpoint where we want it here, click, release, and the copy command is still active, so I'll hit spacebar or escape to stop the command, and there we go. The restrooms are blocked out, as we say, and the rest of the drawing for the ramp is up to you to lay out and draw using lines. Stick to right angles if you can, please. I think that's the easiest thing. There's no need to get fancy in this drawing. It's a very prosaic, very functional drawing. I just want you to understand what the lengths of the ramps need to be, where the landings need to go. Okay. One last thing before we move on is how to print the drawing when you're done. So I should have explained already before the tutorial. We started the tutorial live and in class that AutoCAD has model space. There are two parts to AutoCAD. There's model space and paper space. We draw in model space, 1:1 full size. Down in the lower left corner of the screen here, you see these two tabs. The left one says model and it's active, meaning we're in the model space. The right one here, I roll over it and it gives us a little preview of paper space. A paper space layout that has been set up here. Let's go there. Let's click on that, and it brings us to paper space of this file. And what this is a representation of a page layout. The white area that we see is my mouse is not behaving. There we go. The white area is essentially a piece of paper. This is an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and it has our drawing on here in what's called a viewport. Right, we're looking into model space with the viewport, and the viewport is set up to be a 1/4 inch per foot scale, and I've got some text in here as labels that are going to print. Here's the title of the drawing. I'm indicating the scale there, just using some text, and some other text up here. So what I want you to do, you shouldn't have to touch anything here. This should all be set up with the drawing properly scaled, so you shouldn't have to mess with the viewport at all. But what you do need to do is edit this and put your own name here. All right. So there are two types of text, basic text in AutoCAD. There's text, and then there's something called MTEXT, which is short for multi-line text. You will almost never use the normal text. Almost all text is better as multi-line text, MTEXT. And we'll get into how you create that later on in the class, but I've already got a piece of text here that you can edit. So all you need to do is double click on this, and it'll go into, eventually, there we go. It'll go into this editing mode, and you can highlight that and change your name to whatever, like that, and voila. It's all set to print. And to print, we are going to just use an AutoCAD automatic export to PDF feature. So if you go up to the application menu in the top left of the screen and scroll down to export, and then we'll just hit PDF. All right, so select PDF. And dialog opens up for saving the file, and I don't believe you need to change anything on the right side. Maybe we can check some of your settings before the class is over, just to check. Or you can email me if you are at home and have problems, and do a screenshot of this and show me what it looks like, so I can tell you how to fix it. And so we will just we'll save this after my computer comes back. All we have to do is hit save. Let's see. Let's save it under. That's fine. And yeah, the same place. And we'll call this. I'll just put my name at the end here for now. And if I haven't told you in the lecture already, or spelled it out in some of the class documents of the file name, I think we'll have a standardized file name. That'll let you guys know what that is. Okay, so right now we'll just save it that, and I already had a version saved, and AutoCAD does its thing, thinks a little bit, does it, and you can see down in the bottom right now of the screen, a little bubble opens up. It says plot and publish job complete, so it's done, and so the file is there on the server, on our computer. We can check that. So let's check the PDF. Go to my Finder here. There it is. Let's open it up. Double click. And whoops, didn't want to do that. There it is. 11 by 17 print of our black and white print of our drawing. Now you'll notice here that because this is a student version, an educational version of AutoCAD that I'm running on, and what you guys have, you'll have these stamps on the side of each side of the print, and that happens on no matter what size the print is. It's going to do that on each edge. So as we go forward into the term, we'll have to figure out ways to eliminate that from the PDF. So we end up with some nice professional looking drawings at the end. Okay, but otherwise you can see that we've got some nice crisp AutoCAD. It's a nice crisp AutoCAD line drawing, technical drawing looking type of thing, and set up for 11 by 17 sheet of paper, 2 scale, all done. All right, so that's our first tutorial on AutoCAD, getting you started on the assignment 1A. Happy drawing. Let me know if you got any questions.